I was a Yankees fan in Chicago, which on the South Side in those days you weren't a Yankee fan because there was a big rivalry between the White Sox and the Yankees in those days. It was before all the divisions were set up the way they are now, and so it was a heated rivalry. And on the South Side, you were usually a White Sox fan, but my dad had been in World War II with Hank Bauer, and I guess he was the leader of his group that he was in. So when he came back, he was from Germany, and he wasn't really a baseball fan until he met Hank Bauer and admired him so much that when he came back after World War II, became a huge baseball fan, and specifically a big Yankee fan. And that's all I knew as a kid, Mickey Mantle and Whitey Ford, and a few years later, Mel Stottlemyre, and just being at Old Timers Day in Yankee Stadium, because I don't know that any other teams do it anymore. Going back a couple of years, it was really special, and unfortunately, Mickey's not there, but Whitey Ford would be there, and a lot of the great Yankees would be there, and it's really an amazing experience. Veteran influence can be a little misleading because it depends on the veteran. And here, this is only my third year here, and you come here, you see the Yankees from the other side of the field, and you always wonder what is the mystique, what is the presence there that makes it different. And being here 3 years now and watching these guys, the way that Derek Jeter and Posada, was here the first year I was here, the way those guys go about it, and then you've got Mariano in that mix, you can see a clear difference in the way they lead. Spring training right away, veterans in a lot of spring training situations don't really make road trips a lot. And Mariano doesn't particularly, but he's a relief pitcher, so it doesn't impact much. But, with Jeter and Alex even, and, George that first year, they made road trips. They were there. And it says something about what the leadership is. And, veterans, if you've got the wrong ones, they're going to lead you the wrong way. And I think the key here is that the way these guys do it, and they come every day ready to play. What happened the day before has no impact on what they're doing the next day. They very much can categorize and put it on the shelf one day to the next, good, bad, or indifferent. It just doesn't matter. And that's a special ability. And I think it rubs off on everybody when you get to the park. And I think for young players coming in, there's an ability to relax a little bit when you see a guy like Jeter and Jorge the first year, and CC Sabathia and Mariano and Alex coming in and getting ready to play the game. They realize it's on those guys. So the younger player just kind of does his thing and comes in, and there's expectations, there's no question, but I think there's a winning attitude there that permeates throughout. And even though Derek's missed the first 2 months of this year, he's still around. When we're in New York, his presence is still there. Was there in spring training. You've got Mariano in the bullpen, who you couldn't have a better influence on people. And it's not just pitchers. Everybody knows he's here, and everybody knows what he does. And he's a lightning rod right now because he's announced retirement. He's to me a first ballot Hall of Famer without a doubt, and one of the real big personas in the game, in the best way you could be. And so I think his presence in the clubhouse takes a lot off of a lot of people, and he's not afraid to wear that. He's proud of it, and actually he's enjoying every minute of it this year. So I think when you have guys like that, and you have a history of an organization like this, it's a little different, and I was with the Cubs for 9 years, and I loved it there. But when you walk into that clubhouse, and we had great people in that clubhouse, the atmosphere was different than when you walk in the clubhouse with the Yankees. And how do you get to that point? I don't know if it takes the 100-year history. I don't know if it just takes bringing the right guys up. And you don't find, they talk about the 4 guys here. You just don't find it. I think they probably had the 4 guys that nobody else had in baseball. And it says a lot about why they won. Training, we did some simulate games the first year before we pitched in a game. And to stand with the cage up there when he's throwing it, it gives you a full understanding why they don't hit him, because it is so late. And it's like when you're watching it, you're not believing it's going to move, and all of a sudden it just darts. And it's not just one pitch though, because he can throw it to 4 quadrants. You know, he can dot it down and away. He can dot it in on a left-hander's hands. He can go down to the back foot, and he can go up on a right-hander. And actually, for right-handers, you know, when he gets to 2 strikes, it's been really effective for him to come up. I mean, he's just a special guy, and his calmness on the mound, and just, you know, until 2 years ago, we could not warm him up in a game, you know, where we could send a reliever out if we took a lead in the 9th inning, and then just let him warm up and take the reliever out. They changed that rule, and it makes it tougher because we don't want to warm him up if we don't have to. And if you're in an extra inning game or a tie game in the 9th inning at home, you know, you don't want to have to do that, and you don't want him getting up all the time. You know, and we were able to do that, but it hasn't affected him because he'll sit down until 2 outs, and it could be 3-2, and he'll get up and he's going to be ready. When he has the 8 pitches out there, he's going to be ready. I can remember being in the bullpen in Milwaukee when I was with the Tigers and watching Raleigh Fingers do the same thing late in the game. He'd take 10, 11 pitches and boom, he's in the game, and use his warm-ups to really get ready. And that's, you know, that's, you've got to have a calmness about you to be able to do that. You know, you watch a lot of relievers throw until they justify their stuff, and by the time they do that, they don't have the stuff anymore. So Mariano is really good at handling all those situations, aside from everything else he's done. He's had an unbelievable career, and the impact he's had on this organization, I don't know that you can put it in any numbers or any figures or make it into any sabermetrics or however you want to do it. I just don't think that you can. You know, I don't think you can put those kinds of numbers on what he does. It's meant too much to this organization. I think it's a lot of his DNA. I think it's in his personality, the way I don't think it's an accident, and I don't think it's something that he's really had to work at as far as the way he handles situations. I just think it's the way he is. I mean, obviously, I'm sure when he was younger, you know, he wasn't quite as settled, but I think he was probably way more settled than most pitchers at his age. And you can look at what he did when he set up Wetland. You know, he was pitching the tough innings. He was pitching 2 or 3 innings and wiping teams out in less than 20 pitches in most cases. And obviously they knew he was special in, and it sticks out. And, you know, just talking about the way the cutter came about, it just happened one day, and you know, he thinks God reached down and touched him, and you know, I kind of can't question that because of the way it did happen. But he doesn't, you know, he had a curveball, he had a slider. He started some games. He started a game against our bullpen coach, Mike Harkey, and one of the few starts he had. But he found his niche and he found his pitch, and he was relentless with it and believed in it, and has had great success because of that.